Good day and welcome to another edition of Citizens Movement Radio News. Today is Friday, the 29th of August 2025. I am Langton Manaka, ready to bring you the latest news and updates. Here are today's headlines on Citizens Movement Radio News. MP calls for support for survivors of rape. Economy is on a free fall, says opposition. Ramaphosa just in for ZAS official opening. Now let's delve into the detailed stories. Mashonaland West Women Proportional Representation Member of Parliament, Honorable Mutsa Morombedzi, has raised an alarm over increase in rape cases of minors, particularly in rural areas. Honorable Morombedzi said, while a few cases are reported, there is need for psychological, legal, and all kinds of support for victims to get back their lives. Speaking on Citizens Movement Radio, she also called for stiffer penalties for child sex offenders as a way of dissuading potential criminals. The opposition has said, contrary to ZANU-PF propaganda that the country is heading towards an upper middle income, the economy has been on a free fall since Emmerson Mnangagwa grabbed power in 2017. Opposition spokesperson Promise Mukwananzi said the country has been regressing under Mnangagwa because of corruption, which he said reigns supreme in his government. Speaking to our Citizen Movement Radio correspondent, Mukwananzi also said the local currency Ziggy, which the government says is backed by gold, has failed the test and has been eroded by inflation. Let's hear Mukwananzi speaking.
Well, we saw business people in the news day confirming that our economy is regressing, and this is due to policy ambivalence, high levels of corruption, and the use of a fake local currency, which is supposedly backed by gold, but that sits on an environment that is not conducive for any economic progression. And as a result, we say we must abolish the ZIG and go back to a multi-currency regime until such a time when we have created the correct policies and conducive environment to allow for a smooth transition to a genuine domestic foreign currency. And secondly, we are calling for the eradication of the IMTT taxations, which has made banking and other transactions very difficult in Zimbabwe. We are calling on simplification of the requirements for doing business, simplification of the tax system in the country, and ensuring that there is a conducive environment to do business. These are the factors that are leading to the economic regression that we see, foremost of which obviously is corruption, rent seeking, plunder by Mr. Mnangagwa and his close cronies who are plundering our economy and misdirecting our resources, some of it outside the country, some of it to personal use, and that has caused serious leakages on the economy, leading to high unemployment, acute poverty, and suffering of the generality of the people of our country, Zimbabwe.
South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa has today arrived in the country for the official opening of Zimbabwe Agricultural Show, ZAS. Ramaphosa, just like Emmerson Mnangagwa, is facing political pressure in his country due to allegations of corruption and misgovernance. Opposition official Sam Gondongwe said ZAS has lost its aura due to the destruction of the agricultural sector under successive ZANU-PF governments. Gondongwe said,
the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is today arrived in the country for the official opening of the Zimbabwe Agricultural Show. Ramaphosa, just like Emmerson Mnangagwa, is facing political pressure in his own country due to allegations of corruption and misgovernance. If you look at the Zimbabwe Agricultural Show, it has lost its aura due to the destruction of the agricultural sector under successive ZANU-PF governments. Mnangagwa, the president of Zimbabwe, is not up to the standard that can bring back the muscle that was exhibited by Zimbabwe in agriculture in the yesteryears. This is because Mnangagwa is prioritizing looting of minerals instead of investing in real agriculture to produce the necessary food, to produce the necessary inputs that are supposed to uplift the face of agriculture in this nation. The Zimbabwe Agricultural Show is just another of the schemes that is done by the government, the ruling party of ZANU-PF, just to give some people something to rob our nation. Yeah, because you look at the agricultural show today and the agricultural show of 1989 or 1990 something thereabout, you see a huge gap and a huge difference. Everything has been destroyed by the long stay of ZANU-PF, and now they've no any other idea except for what they inherited from the Smith regime that they have also destroyed. And now Mnangagwa comes to our province and lies to people that he is giving them title deeds. Yet in the constitution you cannot just hand over title deeds like you are giving somebody a Christmas gift. So ZANU-PF should move away from this system of using Zimbabweans as scapegoats in their looting sprees. We really need new leaders who bring back the agriculture stamina that we all know that Zimbabwe was the bread basket of Africa, but now it has become the begging bowl of Africa. We should go back to our pride. We should go back to the era where we used to shine like we were real champions in agriculture. Thank you.
12 opposition members who were found guilty of violating sections of MOPA during the 2023 general elections period were in court yesterday, where they were sentenced to 1 month in prison with option of paying a fine of $150 United States each. The Citizens Welfare Bureau Chief Senator Amai Vongai Tome said the 12 will appeal against both the convictions. The Executive Director of the Center for Natural Resources Governance, Farai Maguwu, has raised concern over the environmental destruction caused by Chinese companies operating in Zimbabwe, as well as gross human rights violations against workers. In a hard-hitting interview with our sister channel, Citizens Voice Network, Maguwu said some of these companies are disregarding the country's laws while enjoying protection from senior government officials. Let's hear part of the conversation.
What is your overall assessment in as far as the environmental degradation is concerned and vis-a-vis mining activities that are sprouting around the country, the establishment of firms and industries around the country?
Thank you, Costa, for having me. I would start by saying, when we talk about mining in Zimbabwe, I think it is now a national crisis, where mining is now being carried out in a very irresponsible, a very aggressive manner, which is leaving communities around the country distressed. I can tell you how many distress calls we receive every day from communities around the country. And when communities around the country are now reporting to a CSO environmental crimes, that tells you the system is broken. ordinarily they should be reporting to the government, where politicians, they swear on oath that they are going to hold office in a manner that respects the constitution, in a manner that respects the rights of the people and protect the dignity of the Zimbabwean people. But generally, mining in Zimbabwe has become a very political activity. We have seen increased politicization and also militarization. You've seen also military officials have become involved in mining. There's also securitization. The entire security apparatus has been deployed to protect mining interests. Because of that combination of these three factors, politicization, militarization, and securitization of the mining sector, the voice of the citizens has been silenced. When the Chinese come into these communities, the forerunners of the Chinese is the state machinery, which comes to intimidate the people, take away their voice, harass anyone who is trying to resist what is coming into their community, and also to weaken and manipulate all the institutions that must protect the environment, like the traditional leaders, the rural district authorities, the councillors, some places the MPs, the senators, all of them. In Africa, they say you don't talk when you are eating. All of them, they receive something and they become silent. Those who are not bribed, they are threatened that you are now undermining the vision of the president. And when that happens to you, if you are a ruling party official, that marks a death sentence to your political career. If you are in the opposition as well, you may be recalled for standing up for the constitution and the people that you represent. So mining is a disaster in Zimbabwe. And in the age of climate change, it's an added layer of an already unfolding crisis that has claimed lives, and mining is adding to that layer of disaster. You know, I've been working on this sector since 2009. I can tell you that the government policy right from that time until now has never been to protect the people's interest and the environment. It is never. In the few cases where the government has come on board after a community has written letters of protest or what, the approach of the government is not to stop the illegal environmental challenges, activities there, but it is to calm the people and then help the Chinese to sort of conform, with the law. And they will continue exactly doing what the people are saying we don't want. Yeah. So I've not seen a place where government is really said, stop, our people don't want you here, or you are violating the law. There is Dinde in Matabeleland. We managed to petition Parliament. Parliament went to Matabeleland. They made recommendations. The Chinese were told in no uncertain terms that we don't want you here. But they're still there. They're still finding a way to continue with that project which the people have rejected. So the government has never stood with the people. They've never stood to protect the environment.
And in as far as all these mining activities, building of cement frames, among other things, what good are the Chinese doing in these communities? In terms of maybe in view of the corporate social responsibility, giving back to these communities?
No, I've not seen any corporate social responsibility project by the Chinese. They simply don't care. And right now they're even becoming more firm to say, if you want to ask, to know why we are here, ask your leadership. We are here because we were invited by your leadership, so we are not going anywhere. But when you talk about corporate social responsibility, you don't throw freebies at the people. First thing is to consult them. We are coming here to do ABC. Do you want the project? Yes or no? People give you an answer. If people say yes, it means they see their interest being advanced by that project. Most Zimbabwean communities, they want public goods like road infrastructure. They want to see investment in health. They want to see investment in education. They want to see alternative livelihoods being supported by an investor. That's not happening. Anyone who is saying the Chinese are doing well, they need to prove to me which road have they constructed as part of CSR, which hospital has they built, even away from the mining areas. Let's look at our urban centers, which I think government should also be seeing to it that whatever mining is happening in the country also contribute to national development plans. we are drinking sewage in this country. Our urban centers, roads have completely disappeared. How do we link these many projects around the country to the welfare and the well-being of the Zimbabwean people? That's the question which no politician can answer.
I was reading some place somewhere, including on social media, where particular government officials would say these developments being initiated and run by Chinese are actually employing a lot of our young people. They are covering a lot of employment job opportunities, challenges that we are facing, and therefore they are coming in with all these projects. They are also creating employment for our young people.
It's slave employment. When you look at the quality of the jobs they are offering, the risk they are putting these young people into, if you read the mine accidents report by the Chamber of Mines in Zimbabwe, it will show a serious rise in the number of mine accidents and fatalities since around 2021, when we saw an upsurge in the arrival of the Chinese into the country. You look at the conditions of service, there is racism. The Chinese are very racist, they don't treat Zimbabwean people as equals to them. We've dealt with issues of sexual harassment, sexual assault, and because the government is seeing the Chinese as a savior, most of these cases are swept under the carpet. But there is rampant abuse of Zimbabweans in those workplaces. That's why you are seeing in some cases Zimbabweans are being filmed being violently attacked by the Chinese. That is a microcosm of what is really happening behind the scenes. So I'm not one of those people to celebrate the so-called employment opportunities they are giving. It's actually enslaving our people. They've got a very low opinion of Zimbabweans when you talk of the Chinese.
I want to end this discussion, but you need to maybe to address to our viewers what's going to be the end game, and what kind of role do we expect, do citizens expect from CNRG in as far as fighting this environmental degradation happening in our country?
I have to be very frank about the way forward, what needs to be done. This issue is not going to be solved through workshops, through press conferences. We can do all that. Through research, I think we are in over-researched country. What is needed is action. The affected communities need to organize, but there's also need for Zimbabweans to speak to each other, because what is happening in Hurungwe is happening in Bikita, it's happening in Hwange, it's happening in Gwanda. There is really need for a national movement to resist destructive mining projects. We are not against mining, but if mining is undermining the welfare of the people, then the people have got a constitutional duty to resist mining. They are going to be arrested. Some people are going to be intimidated. Many things are going to happen, but that's why we call it a struggle. Zimbabweans need a coordinated struggle to resist this modern-day colonization of one country by another. In this case, the colonization of Zimbabwe by China. We need to resist that, and Zimbabweans must organize. Nobody is going to come from somewhere to fight for them. Nobody is claiming to be a marshal who is going to stand up for them and fight the state or the Chinese on behalf of them. They need to organize. Whenever the Chinese come, they're taking away your land, they're digging up your ancestors, your loved ones. You need to organize at the local level. And then we want to see who is going to come out in the open from the government and say, you are not supposed to resist displacement. You are not supposed to resist the pollution of your environment, which is going to condemn you to early graves.
A Harare Kombi driver, Rujidzo Freedom, aged 32, has been jailed for 2 years and permanently banned from driving heavy vehicles after a reckless driving incident. He was convicted by the Harare Magistrates Court for driving against oncoming traffic at the busy 2nd Street and Upper East Road intersection. The magistrate ruled that his actions posed a serious threat to public safety and cancelled his driver's license. 2 City of Harare employees died on yesterday morning while on duty at the Glenview sewage treatment plant. It is reported they died from inhalation of toxic fumes emanated from the sewage site they were working on. The city council described the incident as unfortunate and tragic in a statement. Police, the National Social Security Authority (NASA), and city officials have launched an investigation. The council extended condolences to the families and pledged to uncover the full details. In English Premier League matches lined up for weekend. Defending champions Liverpool clash with last season's runners-up Arsenal at Anfield on Sunday. Here are EPL fixtures for weekend. Chelsea vs Fulham, Wolves vs Everton, Tottenham vs Bournemouth, Manchester United vs Burnley, Sunderland vs Brentford, Leeds United vs Castle United, Brighton and Hove vs Manchester City, Aston Villa vs Crystal Palace, and Nottingham Forest vs West Ham. Relegation-threatened Dynamos will look to stop title-chasing Scotland when the two sides clash at Rufaro Stadium tomorrow. Here are full fixtures in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League. Bikita Minerals vs Tel 1, Greenfield vs Simba Bora, Ngezi Platinum vs FC Platinum, Ngos vs Chicken Inn, Highlanders vs Yada, Triangle vs Rentals, Capes United vs ZPC Kariba, and Kwekwe United vs Manika Diamonds. To conclude our Citizens Movement radio news, here are the headlines once more. MP calls for support for survivors of rape. The economy is on a free fall, says opposition. Ramaphosa jets in for ZAS official opening.